We have more of the same type of problem. So let's look at the first one. This is the cube root of, and now we have a numerator and a denominator. So cube root would mean to the power of 1/3. 81 is 9 times 9. It's 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So that's 3 to the 4th power. But since we're going to take the cube root, which is to the 1/3, I'm going to split this as 3 to the 3, because 3 is a multiple of 3, which hopefully will cancel with this, plus 1. Plus 1. So we're going to write this. The rule of exponents says it's 3 cubed times 3 to the 1. If you go backwards, you'll understand how that works. So this is 3 cubed times 3 to the 1. And then we have x squared y to the 5th can again be written as, let's write this down, y to the 5th. I'm going to write it in terms of the highest power of 3, or rather highest multiple of 3, less than 5, so that is 3 plus 2 more. And the reason why we're going to write this is because we're going to take the cube root eventually. So that is equal to 3 cubed times y squared. If you're confused, just go backwards and you'll see that y cubed times y squared is y to the 3 plus 2. So we're going in the opposite direction. So we have y cubed times y squared, the whole divided by 64 is 8 times 8. 8 is 2 cubed, 2 times 2 times 2. 8 is again 2 cubed, 2 times 2 times 2. That is a total of 6 2's. And 6, remember at the end we're going to take times 1/3. So 6 is a multiple of 3. So we're going to just leave that alone. So we'll write it as 2 to the 6 because 3 is going to cancel with the 6 eventually. And then we have the z cubed. Z cubed can be left alone because z cubed to the 1/3 is going to give us a whole number exponent. So now the rule of exponents says each of these numbers in the parentheses is going to be to the 1/3, raised to the 1/3, times 3 to the 1 whole to the 1/3 times x squared to the 1/3 times y cubed to the 1/3 times y squared to the 1/3. Now you can skip steps only after you're a little confident with these rules. Writing down everything just helps keep things in track. So we have 2 to the 6 to the 1/3 z cubed to the 1/3. And now I'm going to cancel because this 3 is going to be multiplied by the rule of exponents. It's going to be 3 times 1/3, and that cancels the 3's. Skip this one. We've taken care, nothing cancels here. Now again, this one, cancel the 3 and the 3, you're left with the 1. And then this, nothing cancels here. 3 goes 2 times into 6 because we're going to multiply these exponents. And here again, we're going to multiply exponents. And the reason why we are multiplying, let me remind you, a to the m whole to the n is a to the m times n, and that's why we are multiplying. So now we're going to write down all the terms first that have whole number exponents, because that's 3 to the 1. This is y to the 1. Next, in the denominator, we have 2 squared. And then we have just the z. So I'm writing down all the numbers that have whole number exponents first. So in the numerator, everything that's shaded and highlighted in blue is 3 to the 1. The 3 and 3 cancel, so it's just a y to the 1 in the numerator. Now I'm going to write down the rest of the terms in the numerator. So that has a whole to the 1/3, this has whole to the 1/3, and this has whole to the 1/3. So I'm going to write down all those. So that's going to be 3 to the 1/3, x squared whole to the 1/3, y squared whole to the 1/3. Now the whole thing divided by, now in the denominator, we only have the highlighted blue terms that have whole number exponents. So that is 2 to the 2, because when you cancel the 3 and the 6, we got a 2, times z. The 3 and the 3 got cancelled and we have a z to the 1. Now let's write this. Since the question is written as a cube root, we're going to write our answer as a cube root. So this is 3y, and now I'm going to collect all those terms that have an exponent of 1/3. By the rule of exponents, I'm allowed to do this. 3x squared y squared whole to the 1/3 divided by 2 squared, which is 4z. And now this is equal to 3y, the cube root of 3x squared y squared. That's the best way in which we can write this based on the question. And then we have 4z in the denominator. Now let's look at the next one. So we have the 4th root. So now if it's the 4th root, let's think ahead. It's going to be whole to the 1/4, because that's the 4th root. And that's important to note, because based on that exponent, we're going to break down the numbers. So 48 is 6 times 8. So that is 2 times 3 times 2 cubed. 2 times 2 times 2 is 2 cubed, which is equal to 8. 6 8s are 48. So we have 2 to the 1 times 2 cubed is 2 to the 4th, and times 3 to the 1. Now remember, we're going to raise these numbers to the 1/4. So 2 to the 4th works perfectly because the 4 is going to cancel with the 4. There's not much we can do with the 3 to the 1. We're going to leave it alone. And then we have the a cubed. Now b to the 9, remember, we're going to raise it to the 1/4. So we're going to write b to the 9 as b to the 8, because 4 is going to cancel with the 8. It's a multiple of 4, largest multiple of 4 less than 9. So 9 is 4 times 2 plus 1. So the largest multiple less than 9 is 8. So we have b to the 8 times b to the 1, because b to the 8 plus 1 is equal to b to the 8 times b to the 1. If you go backwards, you'll understand that it's the same rule that we've been using throughout the semester, the rule of exponents. So b to the 8 times b to the 1 is b to the 8 plus 1. And in the opposite direction, b to the 8 plus 1 is b to the 8 times b to the 1 by the rule of exponents. 625 is 25 times 25. It's a perfect square. 25 is 5 times 5. 25 is 5 times 5. This is equal to 5 to the 4th power. So 5 to the 4th power, and then c, I'm going to leave it as c to the 12, because 12 is a multiple of 4, which means 4 is going to cancel with the 12 and leave us a whole number exponent. So now, remember, you can skip steps only after you become an expert, but right now I'm going to write down everything so you understand what we are doing. Since it's all multiplication inside and division, each of the numbers is going to be raised to the 1/4. So that's 3 to the 1 to the 1/4. A cubed to the 1/4. B to the 8th to the 1/4. B to the 1 to the 1/4. The whole divided by 5 to the 4th, to the 1/4, c to the 12, to the 1/4. And I'm just going to expand this one more step. So just this is as a review of everything we've done. A to the m whole to the n is equal to a to the m times n. That's the rule that tells me this is 4 times 1/4. So I'm writing down an extra step. So this is 3 to the 1 times 1/4. That's equal to 1/4. And I'm going to leave this as a cubed to the 1/4. Anything that cannot be simplified, I'm going to write it as a 4th root at the end. So I'm going to leave the 1/4 alone. Now, b to the 8 times 1/4. And then, of course, b to the 1/4. Anything to the 1/4, I'm just going to leave it alone if it is not going to give me a whole number exponent. And the whole thing divided by 5 to the 4 times 1/4. I'm going to multiply these two because the 4s are going to cancel and give me a whole number. C to the 12 times 1/4 because I know the 4 is going to cancel with the 12. So let me cancel common factors. Leave this alone, leave this alone, cancel common factors, that gives me a 2, leave this alone, cancel common factors, gives me a whole number exponent, cancel common factors because this gives me a whole number exponent. Now I'm going to put everything back together, but I'm going to write the numbers with whole number exponents first. So I get my 2 to the 1, b squared, and now I'm going to write down all the terms with the power of 1/4, and that's something that I'm going to write as a 4th root of at the end of the problem. So that is 3 to the 1/4, a cubed to the 1/4. Nothing cancelled, that's why I just left it alone. And then b to the 1/4. So I've written down all the terms without missing any. And in the denominator, I'm going to first write down the terms that have whole number exponents, which is everything. That's 5 to the 1, and that is c cubed. C to the 3rd, because 4 goes 3 times into 12. Now we're almost done. 2b squared. All these combined, I can write it as whole to the 1/4. That is 3 a cubed b over, and then everything is simplified in the denominator. One last step is 2b squared times the 4th root of 3a cubed b over 5c cubed. And that's the final answer. And the reason why we wrote it as a 4th root is because the question gave us a 4th root of a number.